The returned Prince Thorn arrived in glory, but something about him felt cold and unnatural. Kael faced the false prince before the entire kingdom and nearly unseated him. Princess Lirael began to sense the truth, whispering that the prince smiles like a wolf wearing silk. Later that night, Lirael and Kael shared a quiet, their feelings growing stronger despite the danger surrounding them. Malachar learned of a mysterious golden rune carried by a Sylvandar knight, a rune that could threaten everything. The Whispering Wilds had always held secrets, but on that late afternoon they seemed to gather like storm clouds over the two who dared walk among them. Kael and Lirael had slipped away from Crystal Haven, under the guise of a routine patrol. Kael insisting the border paths needed checking after rumors of marauder sightings. Lirael agreeing too quickly. They rode side by side in silence at first, the tension between them thicker than the mist that clung to the ancient oaks. Neither spoke of the joust, of Draven's possessive stare, of the way their hands had brushed in the garden alcove and refused to part. They did not need to. The words had already been spoken in glances, in the way Kael's eyes followed her every movement, in the way Lirael's breath caught whenever he stood too close. The sky darkened without warning. Thunder rolled low across the treetops, a warning growl from the heavens. Fat raindrops began to fall, then sheets, turning the forest floor to mud in moments. Lightning cracked white across the canopy. They dismounted beneath the shelter of a massive oak whose branches formed a natural roof. Water poured off the leaves in silver ropes. Their horses stamped nervously, but the two humans paid them no mind. Lirael shook rain from her silver hair, laughing once a bright, reckless sound that cut through the storm. "You chose a fine day for a patrol, Sir Kael." He stepped closer to shield her from the worst of the downpour, his cloak already soaked through. "I chose a fine day to be alone with you." The words hung between them,
I'll protect you from the rain.
and dangerous.
You always do.
She looked up
And
at
I
him,
always will.
rain tracing paths down her cheeks like tears she refused to shed. "We cannot keep pretending this is only duty." "I never pretended,"
Let's get out of this
he answered
rain.
quietly.
Okay.
"I only tried to remember my
Here we
place."
are.
It's
Lightning
better
flashed
here.
again, illuminating his face storm. Gray eyes fierce, jaw set, raven hair plastered to his forehead. The man who had knelt and sworn an oath now stood before her stripped of ceremony, only raw honesty remaining. Lirael reached up, fingers brushing the line of his cheekbone. Then stopped remembering. He caught her wrist gently, not to stop her, but to hold her there. His thumb traced the pulse point beneath her skin, fast,
Stop.
alive.
Don't touch me.
"This is
But
madness,"
It's
he
for
said,
your own good.
voice
I
rough,
understand.
but my heart refuses to listen. She stepped into him, closing the last distance. Then let it roar. Their mouths met in the rain, fierce, desperate, tasting of salt and storm. His arms came around her, pulling her against him as though he could shield her from the world itself. She rose on her toes, fingers threading into his wet hair, kissing him back with everything she had held back for months. Longing, fear, defiance. Lightning split the sky above them, thunder answering like a benediction. When they broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads pressed together, neither spoke for a long moment. The rain continued to fall, washing away pretense. "I cannot promise you a future," Kael whispered against her temple. "Only that every breath I take from this moment is yours." Lirael closed her eyes. "Then give me every one." They kissed again, slower this time, deeper, the storm raging around them while something fragile and unbreakable took root in its heart. They returned to Crystal Haven drenched and silent, cloaks dripping in the palace corridors. No one questioned their absence. Patrols were routine, but Queen Isolde's gaze lingered on her daughter as they passed in the hall, knowing, sorrowful, silent. The next morning, King Arin summoned Lirael to his private study. The room overlooked the cascading waterfalls, sunlight turning the mist to gold. Arin stood at the window, hands clasped behind his back. "Sit, child." Lirael obeyed, though her spine remained straight. "The alliance with Aetherion grows more vital by the day," he began. "Marauders press our borders. Shadow wraiths stir again in the wilds. Valter's kingdom has strength we lack. A marriage between our houses would bind us irrevocably." Lirael's hands tightened in her lap. "Father," Arin turned, His eyes were kind, but unyielding. I know your heart pulls elsewhere. I have seen the way you look at your knight. But you are a princess first. The realm comes before desire, she swallowed. And if I refuse, then we weaken. And if we weaken, Sylvandar falls. The words landed like stones. Lirael bowed her head. I understand. That evening, in the great hall during the alliance banquet, Draven rose. He lifted a goblet, voice carrying across the room. To the union of our kingdoms, he declared, and to the woman who will stand at my side as queen. He turned to Lirael. Princess Lirael of Sylvandar,
Princess, will
you
me?
consent to be my wife? The hall fell silent. Every eye turned to her. Lirael rose slowly. Her face was composed, but her eyes, when they found Kael standing at the edge of the room, held silent agony. He stood rigid, fists clenched at his sides, the muscle in his jaw jumping. She looked back at Draven. I accept.
Though I am hurt, I accept your proposal. Let this union bring peace to our people,
she said, voice clear, though it cost her everything. The hall erupted in applause. Draven smiled triumphant, possessive. Valtor and Alara beamed with hope. Arin nodded once, relieved. Kael slipped from the hall without a word. 2 days later, the marauders struck. They came at dusk. A raiding band from the northern wastes, hard men in ragged furs, blades notched from years of violence. They hit the border villages first, then pushed toward Crystal Haven's outer patrols. Kael rode out with General Varric and a company of knights. Lirael insisted on joining, claiming it was her duty as princess to show solidarity. Kael argued. She overruled him with quiet steel. The battle joined in a narrow valley where the wilds pressed close. Steel clashed. Horses screamed. Arrows hissed through the twilight. Kael fought at the forefront, sword ablur. He cut down one marauder, then another, protecting Lirael's flank, even as she wielded her own blade with deadly precision. A raider lunged at her from the side. Kael intercepted, taking the blow across his chest. The blade tore through leather and linen, ripping his tunic open. For a heartbeat, the golden flame rune blazed on his back, vivid, unmistakable, before the fabric fell back into place. A marauder spy, hidden among the trees, saw it. His eyes widened. He melted into the shadows, racing toward the border with word from Malachar. The battle ended swiftly after that. The marauders broke and fled. Kael stood breathing hard, blood on his blade and his chest, staring at Lirael across the carnage. She reached him first, hands framing his face. You're hurt. Not enough to matter. He echoed his own words from the festival. She pressed her forehead to his. We cannot keep doing this. I know. That night, Kael rode alone to Elderglen. Harlan was waiting on the porch, as though he had felt his son coming. The old farmer looked thinner, eyes shadowed. Kael dismounted and walked up the steps without preamble. Tell me who I really am. Harlan closed his eyes. Tears slipped free, tracing lines down weathered cheeks. You're my son, boy, he said, voice cracking. That's all I've ever known, and all I ever wanted. Kael stepped closer. The dreams, the fire, the mark on my back. Tell me. Harlan sank onto the bench, shoulders bowed. I found you in the wilds, a babe wrapped in royal silk. The rune glowed like living flame. I knew what it meant. I knew the danger, but I could not leave you to die. So I took you, raised you, loved you as my own. Kael stood motionless. Rain began again, soft, steady. Why didn't you tell me? Because the moment I did, I would lose you. And I was too selfish to let that happen. Kael knelt before the man who had raised him, hands on Harlan's knees. You never lost me. You gave me everything. Harlan cupped Kael's face. You are more than blood, lad. You are honor. You are heart. Whatever storm comes for you now, face it with that. Kael rose. He pulled Harlan into an embrace, fierce, wordless. Then he mounted his horse and rode back toward Crystal Haven, toward the woman he loved, toward the throne that might be his, toward the lie that threatened to consume them all. Behind him, Harlan watched until the darkness swallowed his son. In Stormforge, Vizier Malachar received the spy's report at midnight. The vizier smiled, thin, cold, satisfied. So, he murmured to the empty chamber. The true flame still burns, He turned toward the window, lightning illuminating the cruel curve of his lips. The forbidden flame had ignited, and it would consume everything in its path.